Hey, listen up, because I'm Drac. She's Countess Carita, and welcome to Transylvania tonight.
Well, sort of.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Because you know what? Tonight we have a very special show for you.
Recently, our man Renfield celebrated a birthday. And it's Christmas time, so we decided to produce this show as a special gift for him.
Oh, yeah, that Renfield. He's such a knucklehead.
He's our knucklehead.
Well, yeah, he is. So we hope you enjoy this tribute to Renfield that we prepared, and watch this show,
Mr. Renfield's Shock Therapy Theater.
Good evening and welcome to our show. Tonight's program presents a cautionary tale suggesting that it might be wise not to eavesdrop, to keep your eyes shut because you just might see something disturbing like a murder. And that if you are foolish enough to keep your eyes open, you should certainly keep your mouth shut and not talk about something disturbing you shouldn't have seen to begin with, like a murder. And if you are foolish enough to open both your eyes and mouth about witnessing a capital crime being committed, never entrust your well-being to a doctor who just might be capable of murder. It may be hazardous to your health because once a murderer realizes you have witnessed him committing a capital crime, you will leave him very little choice. He'll soon come to the conclusion that he has nothing to lose in silencing you, since the punishment for committing 2 murders is exactly the same as the punishment for committing 1. After all, they can't execute him twice, can they? So keep your eyes open and watch the movie, but keep your mouth shut.
lady. That's how guys lose their jobs, not collecting fares.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm a little excited.
Thank you, lady.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Mrs. Stewart. Would you give me my husband's room number, please? Lieutenant Stewart.
Lieutenant Stewart.
Yes, he's arriving today. I wired for the reservation. Lieutenant and Mrs. Paul Stewart.
You say you wired for a reservation?
Yes, Mrs. Paul Stewart.
I'm afraid there's been a slip-up. Apparently your wire wasn't received.
But I sent it 3 days ago.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Stewart. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do for you.
You mean I can't stay here?
Well, I wish I could help, but we're completely booked up.
But I've got to stay here. This is the only place we can find each other. I thought for 2 years he was dead, and now I don't know if he's been hurt or what.
Please don't be upset, Mrs. Stewart. Perhaps I can arrange something. Has Mr. Walters checked in yet?
No, sir, not until tomorrow.
Fine, then we can give them 816C for the night. But you will have to leave by noon tomorrow.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Will you register, please?
Janet, it's me. Let me in, Janet. Janet, I'm home.
Paul!
Why don't you open the door, Janet? Janet, please open the door.
Paul! Paul, darling! Paul, Paul, don't go away! Paul! Paul, wait! Paul, wait! I can't open the door!
Help me! Janet, I can't find you. Where are you, Janet?
Paul? Paul! Hello, this is Mrs. Stewart. Did my husband come in? No, thank you.
Followed me, Margaret. You've been spying on me.
I have. I've been watching you for months, making a fool of yourself,
I don't think so.
bringing her here.
Elaine was just about to leave.
I didn't interrupt too soon?
Perhaps it's just as well things worked out like this, Margaret. I've decided to ask you for a divorce.
A divorce?
Well,
Why should I divorce you?
Oh, please, Margaret, let's be sensible. Whatever we had for one another is gone. We've been afraid to admit it before, but it's true. Elaine and I... Well, I love her.
You never loved anyone but yourself.
Please, Margaret.
I was good enough for you once, but now you want someone younger.
It's not that way at all. It's just that I can't go on with you any longer.
All right, Richard. You can have your divorce. You're right, we are strangers. But I have some pride, and no one's going to think you've cast me off like
Margaret.
that. You want your precious Elaine, and you can have her. But people are going to know the truth. I'll start right in by telling the room clerk you've been entertaining your girlfriend in our apartment. Then I'll call the newspapers. Careful, cautious Richard. Destroying everything he is for the sake of a cheap...
Get away from that
You
phone,
asked for it,
Margaret.
and you're going to get it.
Leave that phone
I'll enjoy
alone,
telling
Margaret.
your friends
Leave
that you
that
and your
phone
little lover
alone.
have been up to...
I hate you.
Hi, Renfield. Can you come out to play?
Oh, Aubrey, no. I can't come out to play right now. I'm studying for an important test from the state. I might see you later, though. Bye-bye.
Here, Renfield.
Thank you, Ariana.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll see you in a little bit.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you, Zoe. I'm going to need this for later on for my studying. Oh. Hi, Adrian. How are you? Oh, maybe you can help me. I'm studying for an important test, and I don't know how do you study for a paternity test?
Happy Father's Day, Renfield.
I'm here, Carita.
Renfield, where are you?
Well, Carita asked me if I could get an interview with the star of tonight's movie, Robinson Crusoe. I found out that he'd been cast adrift and marooned on this tropical island hundreds of miles off the coast of Venezuela. So I got a boat and rode here. The boat sprang a leak about 10 miles from the shoreline and sank. I had to swim the rest of the way. Man, am I sore.
Renfield, the star of tonight's movie is Edward G. Robinson. Not Robinson Crusoe. It's Edward G. Robinson. See? That's who it is. Not Robinson Crusoe. Edward G. Robinson.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Something makes sense?
Yes, because I was told that Robinson Crusoe hadn't been here since 1686.
And just who told you that?
The monkeys.
Oh, the monkeys told you that. Are you sure it wasn't the cannibals?
Cannibals?
Oh yeah, Renfield. That island's infested with monkeys and cannibals.
Oh, did I tell you that my boat sank? Do you think I could send another one and pick me up, Master?
Oh. What's that, Renfield? I can't hear you.
Master, it's Renfield. I've been invited to a special party. I'm the guest of honor. It's called a Cinco de Mayo party, and there's lots of kids all here to see me. Oh, look, here are the children now.
Look, there's the piñata. Go get it.
Oh, Master, they love me. Oh, 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 ow, oh, oh, what's going on? Oh, oh, Master, I gotta go. I'll see you soon. Oh, leave me alone. Oh, leave me alone. Oh, oh, oh.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm Lieutenant Stewart.
Oh, yes, Lieutenant. We've been expecting you. Your wife's certainly going to be glad to see you, sir. Mr. Blake, this is Lieutenant Stewart. Mr. Blake's our manager.
Lieutenant, you really had us worried. I'm glad you finally got here.
For a while, I wasn't sure we'd make it. The weatherman threw the book at us.
Well, you're in for a real welcome.
816C, boy.
Oh, that's all right. I'd kind of like to surprise her.
Very well, sir.
Thanks. What's the matter? Janet. Janet, it's me. It's Paul. Janet. Hello? Hello, operator. This is Lieutenant Stewart calling. Can you send the house doctor to 816C right away? It's very urgent. Thank you. Well? What is it? What's wrong with her, Doctor?
I'm not sure. I think she's suffering from some sort of shock. I'll be frank with you, Lieutenant. This is a little outside my line.
But there must be something you can do for her.
We ought to call in a nerve specialist, a psychiatrist.
Can you suggest one?
There's a very good man in the hotel, Dr. Cross. If we're lucky, we might find him in. This is Dr. Blair. Will you see if Dr. Cross is in for me? Thanks. Cross has had a lot of experience with this sort of thing. I'm all right for a broken arm or an old-fashioned hangover, but when it comes to the mind, well... hello, Dr. Cross. This is Blair in the hotel. How are you? Say, I've run into something that's right up your alley. One of the guests here's had some sort of shock. No, I don't know what caused it. Oh, would you? Well, that's mighty nice of you. Thanks, Doctor. 816C. He'll be right with us.
She was so alive when I saw her last. I can't quite believe this.
Better snap out of it, Lieutenant. I don't want another patient. Dr. Cross is one of the best men in this part of the country. I'm very happy that he's going to have a look at it.
I don't get it. What could have brought it on?
I wish I could tell you. The mind's a strange instrument. What affects me may not bother you in the slightest. The workings of the mind depend on so many things inside as well as outside. You can't make hard and fast rules.
Well, I suppose it is plausible that she hasn't been feeling well. Worrying about me, not knowing whether I was dead or alive. Then coming here and not finding me.
That'll be Dr. Cross. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
I appreciate your promptness.
Not at all. The sooner you get to a case of shock, the better.
This is Lieutenant Stewart, Dr. Cross.
How do you do, Lieutenant?
Thanks for coming, Doctor. My wife is in the bedroom. She doesn't know me. She doesn't seem to know anything.
Were you here when it happened?
I just got in a few minutes ago. When I opened the door, she was sitting on the divan. Her eyes were wide open. She was staring at nothing.
Did you notice anything peculiar about her actions when you saw her last?
I've been a prisoner of war for 2 years. I've just come home.
Oh, I see.
She's had a rugged time of it, all right. First thinking I was dead, and then hearing from me. On top of all that, my plane was 12 hours late.
Would you say that she was a nervous, imaginative girl?
No, sir. I've known her all my life. We came from the same small town in Michigan. Went to school together. She's just a nice kid. What's wrong with her, Doctor?
She's had a nervous collapse, went into shock. Where did you find her?
In the living room.
In the living room? You said she was sitting on the divan.
Yes, right here.
I see.
What do you think it have caused it, Doctor?
Well, that's difficult to say. You have no idea how long she might have been sitting there.
No. Oh, the clerk did say she phoned down about 1 in the morning.
Between 1 and 8:30.
What difference does that make, Doctor? The important thing is, what can you do for her?
It's hard for a doctor to make promises. We can only do our best. Are you living permanently at the hotel?
No, as a matter of fact, we've got to clear out by noon.
Oh, I see. But then I'd better take her to my place. She's going to need someone with her night and day.
Dr. Cross has a private sanatorium just out of town.
I see.
Believe me, Lieutenant, it's best for her.
But there must be a hospital here in San Francisco. I'd like to be near her.
Of course. But I'm at my place every day. It's in the country, and she'll get plenty of fresh air and quiet.
If I were you, Lieutenant, I'd listen to Dr. Cross.
Okay. You men know best. Just get her well again.
I was getting ready to leave when you called. I'll take Mrs. Stewart up with me now. Hello, this is Dr. Cross. Will you get my office, please?
I'm going along with her, Doctor.
I'd rather you waited, Lieutenant, until I've been able to give her a thorough examination. It's quite possible your presence may excite her and do her more harm than good.
It's just that it's been so long since I've seen her.
Why don't you drive up with me tomorrow? Miss Jordan, will you call the hospital and tell Miss Hatfield to have a room ready for a new patient? We'll be there shortly. Yes, that's right. You pick us up at the hotel. Right. You'd better pack a bag for your wife, Lieutenant.
Thanks, Doctor.
I've been stalked by a creep in a black cape named Drac.
Really?
He was relentless. I had to get a restraining order, and it finally got so bad. I came here to Seward Sanitarium to get rehabilitation and just to calm my nerves.
But you're feeling better now?
I am, but it was touch and go for a while. After I've been here for a few months, I started hearing some weird music.
Weird music?
Kazoo music.
Really?
Yes, really. At first, I thought it was that filthy leech, Drac, and he had followed me and crept into the sanitarium here under the cloak of night just to torture me.
Oh, well, he is good for that.
I know it, sister. Anyway, the funny thing is that as the nights went on, I began to like that eerie kazoo music.
You did?
Yes, I began to find it hauntingly beautiful. So I was, as I went down the hall to find out where the music was coming from, and I'm happy to say that when I resume my farewell tour, I'm going to be adding a kazoo player to my band.
Ah! Playing kazoo with Elton is all I've ever wanted.
Introduce yourself to the folks.
Hi.
Oh.
I'm Renfield, and I'm happy to announce that I'm going to be going out on tour with Elton.
Renfield?
Renfield, I didn't know you knew how to play kazoo.
I've been taking a correspondence course from my master Drac.
Oh, the irony.
the thing about playing the kazoo is that it's addictive. I practiced around the clock. The only time I wasn't practicing the kazoo was when I was being shaved in preparation for my daily enema.
So, the only time you weren't playing kazoo is when you were getting shaved or getting your enema?
Oh no, I played while I was getting my enema. For some reason, playing while I was getting an enema gave me a richer, deeper tone.
Really?
It's true. I'm a witness. It was so beautiful. I never missed one of Renfield's enemas. I was always there at enema time.
Really?
Really, it was uncanny. It did, and we plan to duplicate it on stage.
You're going to give Renfield enemas on stage?
I am. In fact, I'll be giving him the enema myself. I'm really looking forward to it.
Of course you are.
Imagine the thrill of playing the kazoo to a packed crowd and getting an enema at the same time.
We may even shave Renfield on stage too, and we could sell locks of his hair after the show with the t-shirts.
Well, I have to go. It's time for my enema.
Oh, then I have to go too. Thanks for letting me make my big announcement, Carita. Bye.
I guess the tour is canceled, Renfield. How do you feel?
I feel awful. I feel used. Do you have any idea how many enemas that man gave me? But the good news is, the show's still on.
Oh.
Renfield, unshaved.
I'm from Dr. Cross's office. We were to pick up a patient.
Oh, yes. They're on their way down now.
Thank you. Your car's waiting, Doctor.
Thank you. This is Miss Jordan from my office, Lieutenant Stewart.
How do you do, Lieutenant?
Mrs. Stewart has had a nervous collapse.
What a shame. Don't you worry, Lieutenant. We'll soon have her well again.
You'll call for me in the morning, right?
Yes, I'll pick you up at 11:30. Put her to bed and have Dr. Stevens give her an injection of scopolamine.
Yes, Doctor.
Miss Hatfield,
Good morning, Doctor.
your patient is coming in at the ambulance entrance. You have a room ready?
Yes, I have, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Doctor. How is she?
Quite relaxed, sir. What's her trouble?
Amnesia shock. She's had her injection.
Yes, Doctor. She's ready to talk now.
Thank you. That'll be all. I'm Dr. Cross, Mrs. Stewart. I am your friend. I'm here to help you. I want you to think. You're going to remember things now. You went to meet your husband at the Belmont Arms. Do you remember that? You were worried about Paul. He didn't arrive on time. You were too nervous to sleep. Did you walk out on the balcony?
Yes. I walked out on the balcony.
See, you can remember. Now, what did you see from the balcony?
They were quarreling.
You heard them distinctly?
I
Did you hear them distinctly?
He's trying to stop her. He's going to hit her. He's hitting her head. He's killing her.
Who? Who's hurting the woman?
That man. He's her husband. He's killing her.
Well?
She knows, Elaine. She remembers. Her room was opposite my apartment. She walked out on the balcony. She heard everything. Yes?
Can you come now, Doctor? They're having trouble with Mr. Edwards again.
Yes.
Dear Santa, I've been a very good boy this... Dear Santa, I've been a good boy this year, and... I gotta be honest. Dear Santa, I did the best I could. This year for Christmas, I would like to have a copy of Captain America #1 from 1940. And a copy of Action #1. Whoa! I'm Drac, and this is the Borgo Pass Report. And oh boy, it's a big news night tonight. We got a lot of breaking news for you. Our top story tonight, we've got, looks like we got breaking newses. For more on this, we go to our little Christmas elf, Countess Carita. Carita?
Thanks, Dennis.
Sure.
We here at the Borgo Pass Report have just received a new report on insanity. It seems that the modern lunatic fringe is having problems dealing with...
It's the Nut House News with your anchor, Mr. Renfield.
I'm Renfield, and welcome to the Nut House News. When I found out the news for this evening was about lunatics, I thought I'd add my 2 cents, because if anybody knows anything about lunatics, it's me. In fact, I used to be one. They say there's a fine line between madness and genius. You know that fella Eric, the Phantom of the Opera? He's a musical genius, but when he kidnapped that singer and held her captive in the sewers underneath the Paris Opera House, well, he was nuts. And Dr. Jack Griffin, the Invisible Man, he's a brilliant scientist, but when he blew up the train tracks and derailed an entire train of people, well, he was nuts. And Dr. Hannibal Lecter is a brilliant psychiatrist, but when he started eating people, he was, well, nuts. After all, he served white wine with human flesh. You'd have to be nuts to do that. Everybody knows you serve red wine with human flesh. Serving white wine is just, well, nuts. And then there's Dr. Moreau, a genius who was able to surgically turn animals into people. But when he concocted a plan to mate his panther woman with a man, he was just, well, you know. I'm Renfield, and this has been the Nut House News. We now return to Drac and Carita and the Borgo Pass Report. Hey, what's the big deal with the anchor crack? I don't weigh that much.
Thanks for that enlightening report, Renfield. So, Carita, do we still have time for your story?
It doesn't look like it.
Well, looks like that's all the time we have for this time. We'll see you next time on the Borgo Pass Report. So, Carita, how do you think Renfield did that?
What?
You know, take over the news.
I don't know.
Man, that could be dangerous. And what did he mean when he said he used to be a lunatic?
Beats me.
And now, here's an editorial comment from the Borgo Pass news director, Groucho.
Groucho here, the Borgo Pass news director with an editorial comment. Well, it seems like the man of the hour is our Mr. Renfield. Why, Renfield? What can we say about Renfield? He's nuts. That's what we can say. But it doesn't matter that he's nuts. You know, even nuts are loved by some. Why, in fact, squirrels love nuts. And that's why when we see somebody like Mr. Renfield, we say, he's a little squirrely. That's right, because all the squirrels love him. That's what makes him so squirrely. Maybe, though, it'd be better to be loved by a dog or a cat instead of a squirrel. Then you wouldn't be so squirrely. I'm Groucho, the Borgo Pass news director, and this has been my squirrely editorial comment. Congratulations, Renfield, on being the top nut with the squirrels.
This has been an editorial comment from the Borgo Pass news director, Groucho.
Darling, I didn't think you'd ever get here. I love you.
You've got a headache. I can tell from your eyes.
Yes, it's bursting.
You did it?
Yes. Yes, I did it. It was horrible, Elaine. I had the porter take the trunk down. I told the hotel manager I was joining my wife in Carmel for a few days to ship the trunk to my lodge.
No one knew she was in town last night?
No, she came up the back way. She wanted to surprise us, remember?
You're not sorry. Are you?
I wish I'd called the police. I lost my head. I didn't mean to kill her. There was no premeditation. But now I've concealed her body. I've shipped the trunk to my lodge. Well, you know as well as I do there's only one answer for that. I shouldn't have listened to you, Elaine.
Think, darling. What would have happened if you'd called the police? Manslaughter means 20 years. What would that have done to you, to us?
I don't know.
Would you have wanted it that way? Now no one knows. We're safe.
You're forgetting Janet Stewart, aren't you? She knows. What if she talks?
I haven't forgotten her. She can't tell what she's seen as long as she's in this condition, can she?
The shock will wear off in a couple of weeks at the most.
It'll wear off if you let it, Dick.
Elaine, I'm a doctor.
She'll talk only if you let her. You mean too much to me. It's the only way out, Dick. It's the one and only way out for us.
If I don't know, Elaine, I've got to think. Good morning, Mrs. Penny.
Good morning, Doctor.
You're looking very well today.
Thank you, Doctor.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Miss Hatfield. This is Lieutenant Stewart. Miss Hatfield's our head nurse.
How do you do, Lieutenant?
Is Miss Jordan with Mrs. Stewart?
Yes, she is, Doctor.
Oh, Master, I've been inspired by tonight's movie. I've joined the police academy, so now I'm practicing being a police officer. I'm here waiting in the park, and I've got my coffee, and I've got my donuts. I've tried on these new bracelets that they sent me, but I don't think I like them very much. It's okay, though. The keys will be here next week.
Hey, Renfield, what you doing?
I'm practicing being a police officer. I've got my coffee and I've got my donuts, but I'm stuck. Well, I guess it's okay, Master. I at least have my coffee. What? There's never a police officer around when you need him.
Good morning, Lieutenant.
Janet. Darling, it's me. It's Paul. I'm home, dear.
She's worse. Not really. She was restless and we gave her a sedative. You've got to be patient, Lieutenant. It's going to take time. And you must try to stop thinking of your wife as she was. You see, when you were reported killed, she had a terrible time adjusting herself, but she did. Then when the news came that you were alive and on your way home, it was hard for her subconscious to accept that because the first adjustment had been so difficult. Then, of course, when your plane was late, she thought she'd been tricked, that you'd never sent that wire.
Don't try and let me off easily, Doctor. Give it to me straight. Tell me, can you help her?
That's a very difficult question to answer. Sit down, Lieutenant. The mind is a delicate, fragile thing. It's almost as intangible as faith. And that's what you're going to need. A lot of faith in yourself and in your wife and in me.
Please don't think I haven't faith in you, Doctor, because I have. But yesterday, after you left with Janet, I needed someone to talk to.
Of course.
So I went to the Army hospital and I talked with some of the doctors. I told them Janet was in your care. They said that I couldn't find a better man. But, well, you know how it is. I figured that maybe two minds might be better than one. And I asked if another opinion mightn't help.
Well, that's perfectly understandable. If you want a consultant, by all means, bring one in.
Thanks. They recommended Dr. Franklin Harvey.
Harvey? Well, I studied under him. He's probably the best man in his field.
Oh, that's swell, Doctor. I was a little embarrassed. I didn't want you to think that...
Not at all. I'll phone Dr. Harvey and have him out here.
Good. Well, I might as well go back to town. If it's all right, I'll run out again tomorrow.
For Mrs. Stewart's sake, I'm going to have to ask you to observe our regular visiting days, Sundays and Thursdays. I'll phone Dr. Harvey and try to have him out here Thursday so that you can talk with him then.
Okay, we'll make it Thursday.
Oh, I thought you'd like to know, Lieutenant. She's resting quite easily now.
Thanks. Goodbye, Doctor. Miss Jordan.
Goodbye.
Mrs. Stewart. Mrs. Stewart. You're going out on that balcony again, Mrs. Stewart. You're looking into the other apartment. You're listening to the argument. Do you remember what happened to the woman? He's hitting her. He's hitting her with the candlestick. Now he's hitting you.
No.
Hitting you with the candlestick. Hitting your head again and again.
My head is hurting my head.
candlestick. It's killing you. Soon you won't be able to remember anything. You can't hear the sound now. You can't hear anything. You can't hear. You can't remember. You can't remember. You can't remember. Edward's condition is deteriorating rapidly. If this continues, we will have to take steps to put him in a more suitable institution.
She's exhausted. You haven't got far to go.
Lane, do you think you could manage it here alone for the weekend?
Certainly, why?
The trunk should be there tomorrow.
I've been wondering. There are no servants at the lodge. What'll happen when the trunk is delivered and there's no one to receive it?
Nothing, they'll just leave it on the back porch.
When are you leaving?
Tomorrow. Dr. Harvey's due here this afternoon.
Harvey? Coming here for what?
Stewart requested a consultation.
You're not going to let him examine her.
Of course. How would it have looked if I'd said no?
But he might discover something.
He has no reason to be suspicious.
You can't risk it. I won't let you.
I know what I'm doing, Elaine.
Darling, you're not thinking clearly.
I've never seen things so clearly before in my whole life.
This is Crosshairs with your moderator, Countess Carita.
Good evening, I'm Countess Carita, and welcome to Crosshairs, the program that discusses what we're all thinking about and talking about today. On the program this evening, we discuss the War on Christmas. Our guests tonight need no introduction. First, we have the man of the hour himself, Santa Claus, and the scourge of Whoville, the Grinch. Thank you for being with us tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me here, Carita. It's an honor.
Yeah, whatever.
We understand that you have very different views on Christmas, and we'd like to hear them. Let's begin with you, Santa.
Thank you, Carita. Well, I think the wonderful thing about Christmas is that we give gifts to one another. And those gifts represent the gifts that the wise men gave to the Christ child on the very first Christmas. And so giving those gifts to our friends and loved ones is a recognition of the spark of Jesus that lives in them.
Listen to the old sack of toys. Sounds like a sack of piffle to me.
So I ask all the boys and girls around the world to be good every year and carry that spark inside of them. And when they are good, they get rewarded. They've worked hard and get gifts from Santa.
What a load of rubbish. I don't feel as if I have to work hard or be good to get anything. I'm entitled to presents. And when I don't get them, I break into every house in Whoville and just take theirs. It's my right to do that.
I don't agree, Grinch.
What do you know, you old fool? And just why do you surround yourself at the North Pole with all those elves? Does that make you feel like a big man?
Your head is screwed on too tight.
You have a belly like a bowl full of jelly.
Your heart is 2 sizes too small, and your shoes are too tight.
Tight? Let out the waistline on your pants, fat boy.
Gentlemen, calm down. We're going to take a quick break right now and allow our guests to cool down.
Portions of tonight's program are being brought to you by Mr. Renfield's Gourmet Rats. Rats for the discriminating rat connoisseur. Fresh from the sewer and straight to your belly. Mr. Renfield's rats are really, really smelly. Available wherever fine rodent meats are sold.
I'm Countess Carita, and welcome back to our program. We're debating the War on Christmas. Let's continue on with you, Santa.
No debate here, Carita.
There isn't.
No. During the commercial break, I took care of it.
You took care of it how?
Like that. And just like that, the war on Christmas is over.
Oh, well, we'd like to thank our guests this evening, Santa Claus and the Grinch, for being here with us tonight. We'll see you next time with an all-new discussion and all-new guests.
Yep. Ho, 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 ho. I guess they would kind of have to be all new guests, wouldn't they? Merry Christmas, everybody. Ho, ho, ho!
We'll see you next time on Crosshairs. Did no one check Santa Claus for weapons when he came in tonight?
This has been Crosshairs with your moderator, Countess Carita.
I'm here, Master.
Have you really been on that alien ship for a month?
I have.
What have you learned?
Well, to begin with, these aliens are the Greys.
Interesting, Mr. Renfield. Interesting. So, what have you been doing up there for a month?
Well, it turns out that the aliens wanted to study the physiognomy of a fine specimen of manhood, and I was the finest specimen of manhood they found.
They must not have looked very hard.
What's that, Master?
I asked what you've learned from the aliens.
Well, they're really into probing.
You mean they ask a lot of questions?
No, I mean they literally like to probe.
Oh. Well, anything else you've learned?
Yes, they have really long fingers.
The aliens have really long fingers?
Yes, and they're thick too.
So what else have you learned?
Well, the aliens are hailers, so they've been surprised I have to be shaved daily before they can examine me. I think this one is getting ready to shave me now.
Oh, poor Renfield. I can't look, Drac.
Oh, so what are you going to do now, Renfield?
I think I'm going to take this opportunity to get out of here.
Oh, it's okay, honey bat. You can look now.
Oh, good. I was worried about Renfield.
I'm here in my product development research lab working on a new item for my rat sickle roach coach. Deep fried rat Twinkies. It's been a long process of trial and error to get the recipe right. At first I was trying to shove the Twinkie up inside the rat, but that didn't work. What did work was feeding the Twinkie to a live rat to get it inside him and then battering and deep frying it. Delicious. Golden batter on the outside, nutritious rat meat and hair in the middle, and sweet, creamy rat-digested Twinkie on the inside. Yum, yum. You'll love it, too. The only thing I feel bad about is feeding the rats Twinkies like they're pets and then throwing them in the batter and deep fryer. The rats think they're getting pampered with the Twinkies, and then, bam, deep fried. Life for a rat can be so cruel.
You'll send me a report on her spinal test?
Yes, Dr. Harvey.
And the other specimens?
Yes.
You know, Richard, I'm not sure I completely agree this was all brought on by her husband's late arrival. That was a contributing circumstance. I feel there may have been something else.
Well, that's always possible, of course, sir. But I found no evidence of it.
Just speculation.
Will you have a cigar, sir?
Yes, thank you. Let's continue the present treatment and see how she comes along.
Yes.
I notice, Richard, you've been giving her sedatives.
Yes, I have. She's been pretty difficult at times.
I'd go easy on them. If she's under sedation, there's no way of knowing when she comes back to normal.
No, I'd planned to take her off them within the next 24 hours.
Fine. By the way, how's Margaret?
I'm joining her at the lodge.
Give her my regards when you see her.
I will, thank you, sir.
Well, I'd better talk with the young man. Sometimes I wonder which are more difficult, patients or their families.
Hiya, beautiful.
Hi.
Yeah, what a night. You don't happen to know a blonde who'd like to relax with me, do you? That's what I thought you'd say.
Coffee?
Please. And poor Edward's e-storms don't do him any good. He kept ducking into his closet and slamming the door after him. I finally had to lock it. How's your patient?
All right, I guess.
I was talking with her husband. It's kind of tough coming home and finding a wife in that condition.
Yes.
Can't figure Dr. Cross's treatment. Why keep the poor guy from seeing his wife? I think it would have helped snap her out of it if she saw more of him.
Dr. Cross doesn't want to get her excited. After all, the attack was brought on by worry over him.
Yeah.
That was close.
It's time to turn in. So you better tuck your patient in bed and get a good night's sleep.
Yes, I should be up there now.
Tell me, is it true that doctors get a night off once in a while?
If you had a night off, you wouldn't know what to do with it.
Wouldn't I? Wouldn't I?
Good night, Doctor.
Good night.
Well, another stormy weekend. It is my night off. Well, anyway, the rain will help Jane on her day off.
Who's there? Why, Mr. Edwards, you shouldn't be in here. Come, I'll take you back.
Don't
here.
afraid. We won't let the storm hurt you. You're coming back to your room, aren't you, Mr. Edwards? Aren't you, Mr. Edwards? That's fine. Come along. Take care of him, Frank.
Yes, Doctor. Come along, sir.
Are you all right, Elaine?
Yes. There, Mrs. Stewart, it's all over.
Oh, he killed her. He hit her on the head and he killed her. Her husband killed her.
Are you there, Renfield?
I'm here, Drac. I'm at the tote boards, and I'll also be manning the phones. Hey, looks like we've got our first call. I better grab this.
Okay. Wow, this is exciting.
It is.
Hello? No, I'm sorry. Tiffany isn't here. I think you have the wrong number. Back to you, Master.
Thank you, Renfield. We hear that Renfield is getting another call.
Oh, hi, Master. Hold on a second. Yes, Master?
Well, I was wondering if we're ready to roll over that tote board yet.
Nope. I got nothing here, Drac.
Oh. Well, let us know the moment something happens.
Will do, Master. Look, buddy, I told you, you have the wrong number. There's no Tiffany here. Hi, Tiffany here. And I hope all you boys will pick up your phones and dial in to help the Transylvania Vampire Relief Fund. That handsome hunk Renfield is standing by to take your call. The vampires are having a hard time right now, so we hope we can count on you too.
Renfield, doggone it, what are you doing?
Renfield? I've never even heard the name Renfield. I'm not Renfield, I'm Tiffany.
Well, if you're Tiffany, you're the first Tiffany I've ever seen outside of a carnival who needed a shave.
You see, Master, it was just that Tiffany seems to be so popular that I thought if I said I was Tiffany, all her boyfriends would call in and give us money.
And you didn't think that when they saw you on TV, they wouldn't realize that you weren't Tiffany?
Well, judging by the sound of their voices when they've been calling here, I figured most of them were so drunk out of their minds that they wouldn't be able to see anything.
Oh. Okay. Carry on, Tiffany.
So, come on, boys. Pick up that phone and help out now. Do it for old time's sake. You know what I mean. And let's go back to the studio and Drac and Carita.
Edwards became very violent last night. This morning we found that he had a key hidden away. I ordered the lock on his door to be changed. As for Mrs. Stewart, she's suffering from hallucinations. She keeps insisting that she witnessed a murder, which obviously... Come in? Oh, hello, Lieutenant.
They told me I'd find you here. I hope I'm not interrupting.
Not at all. It's kind of rough, isn't it?
Yeah. She's out of her head. She's got a crazy idea she saw a murder. What am I going to do?
You're going to sit tight. She's in good hands.
So they keep telling me, but... Oh, she's getting worse. Now, I'm thinking of taking her back to San Francisco to a hospital there.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Lieutenant. Dr. Cross is tops, you know that. You brought Harvey in to consult. You can't do any better than that.
But I can't just sit around and watch her get worse. I've got to do something.
Lieutenant, I wouldn't try to kid you for the world. So far, we've tried to snap her out of it with quiet and rest and simple foods. Well, there are a dozen other things we can do. Electric therapy, insulin shock.
Insulin shock. They use that in the Army on guys who blow their tops.
Well, sure they do, because it often helps. But you're not going to turn it down on that account, are you?
No.
Well, relax. The setup here is perfect. Everybody's rooting for you. Now, just take it easy.
You mean that? Okay. Say, put in a couple of extra licks, Doc. I'd kind of like to take her home soon.
Okay, Lieutenant. We'll do everything we possibly can for her.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Goodbye.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Look at this. Mrs. Cross is dead.
What? The body of Mrs. Margaret Cross, wife of the noted psychiatrist, has just been recovered from its resting place among the rocks at Point Lobos. Mrs. Cross has been missing since Friday night. Coroner Jess Haynes has pronounced the death accidental.
Good morning, Doctor. You have our deepest sympathy.
Thank you.
I'm terribly sorry, Doctor.
Thank you. Will you come in, Miss Jordan?
Yes, sir. You're the perfect picture of a heartbroken husband.
Am I?
I've missed you.
Driving back, there was time to think. I got to thinking about you. I asked myself, is she worth what I've done?
Well? That was a very satisfactory answer.
How did things go while I was away?
Oh, darling, things are going so well I can hardly believe it.
What do you mean?
Mr. Edwards got out during the storm. He went into her room.
What?
He went after me. I struggled with him. She woke up and confused Mr. Edwards with you. She was thrown back into that night at the hotel.
Oh, Elaine, that undoes everything I've tried to do.
No, Stevens and Miss Hatfield heard her. They're convinced she's insane. Now, no matter what she says, they'll think she has hallucinations.
I see.
But you don't see, darling. Before you were trying to make her forget. Now she can talk her head off and no one will believe her. If we can encourage her to talk, convince her husband that she's insane, we can keep her here as long as it suits us. Then have her committed.
Darling. Janet, darling. It's me. Wake up. I'm here, dear.
I've waited all night for you, darling. What took you so long?
Don't worry, I'm with you now.
We have to be out by morning, Paul. They won't let us stay.
Lieutenant Stewart. You shouldn't be in here.
Paul! It's him!
Who is it, dear?
Him! He killed her. He killed his wife. He picked something up, Paul, and he hit her with it. He was arguing with her, and he killed her.
I know, dear. You've upset her, Lieutenant. You shouldn't have come in here. Come outside with me. Give her a hypodermic, nurse.
Don't leave me here. You'll kill me. Come back.
Easy,
Paul, no.
What is it, Doctor? What's happened to her? Lieutenant, I'm going to be perfectly frank with you. What you've just heard is something I've been afraid of. There are times when patients emerging from amnesia suffer from delusions. It doesn't happen often. I'd hoped it wouldn't happen in her case, but you heard her yourself.
But why?
Well, that's hard to explain. But if you come with me, I think I might be able to clarify it for you.
Renfield, I hear that you got Sensei Drac into Cobra Kai, so I just wanted to say thank you so much. I just bought literally all of his pictures, and now they're going on my wall. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and here's to 500 more years of Cobra Kai and Sensei Drac.
Hi, Renfield here, and welcome to the Transylvania Tonight Valentine's Day show with Drac and Countess Carita. And now, an ode to Valentine's Day. He jests at scars that never felt a wound, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. You didn't expect to see that, did you? See, I'm a classy guy. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's dinner time. Tonight, I'm having burgers and flies. Mariah, I'd like you to meet my Countess Carita and my master, Drac. Who? Drac and Countess Carita. Never heard of them. Well, say hello. Hi, whoever you are. It was pretty rude of you to keep us waiting like that.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, pleased to meet you. And sorry to keep you waiting, but we're kind of in the middle of a news broadcast here.
Yeah, whatever. Perhaps you'd like to ask Mariah a few questions. If you do, make it fast. We already ordered dinner, and it should be here any second.
No, that's fine.
Good. We would have been okay for time if you hadn't kept us waiting. So, in my last report, I told you that I was going to post videos on some dating sites. That's where I met Mariah. We met on the dating site. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. Shh, that's just for hooking up. Mr. Renfield and I actually met a church Sunday ice cream social. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon ice cream social. Mr. Renfield had a big bowl of vanilla ice cream. You can't say that. Why not? Because everyone knows that it's not true. Everyone knows I'm lactose intolerant. Isn't that right, Master? You know I'm lactose intolerant, don't you?
Oh, boy, do I know it. A bowl of vanilla ice cream would be toxic. Oof. Oh, and I'll never forget the time you had that extra large chocolate shake. Oof. I had to air out the castle for a week.
Yeah, and I had to burn my pants, and I like those pants. I miss them. Shut up and ask the waiter for more breadsticks. I'm starving.
Well, Renfield, good luck with your date. Mariah seems like such a lovely woman, and it looks like you're off to a great start.
Thanks, Master. Waiter!
Hello, Mrs. Penny.
Good day, Doctor.
How are you feeling today?
Just fine, Doctor, just fine.
That's a lovely thing you're knitting there.
It's a shawl for one of my friends.
Everyone here treating you well?
Oh, yes, they're very nice to me. Dr. Stevens hasn't tried to kill me with that needle for a long while now. Neither has Miss Hatfield.
Haven't I told you many times, Mrs. Penny, that no one here is trying to kill you?
Oh, yes, they are. You all want to kill me. You're murderers, all of you. But I've learned. I'm too smart for you.
What you've just heard, Lieutenant, for the second time, is the typical attitude of many of our patients towards the hospital staff.
But that old lady, she seemed all right.
Mrs. Penny is suffering from a paranoid form of dementia precox, characterized either by delusions of grandeur or delusions of persecution, or both. The patient, when confined to the hospital, almost invariably becomes convinced that the doctors and nurses who are treating him are really murderers intent on killing him. This delusion is quite common among mental cases in an institution of this sort.
Are you trying to tell me my wife is out of her mind?
No. Out of the mind denotes complete loss of reason. Mrs. Stewart hasn't reached that stage.
But she's got the same crazy idea as the other patients.
Right now, she's merely suffering delusions. However, I feel it's only fair to tell you, Lieutenant, that this condition can become worse. Our fight now is to prevent further deterioration of her mind.
You've got to help her, Doctor. You've got to get her well again.
I'll do everything I can. Believe me.
Come now, Mrs. Stewart, you shouldn't be out of bed.
Will you help me, please? Please, please help me. Get the police here, please.
We don't need the police, Mrs. Stewart. You come along with me and everything will be all right.
You don't understand. There's nothing the matter with me. I want the police. That doctor's a murderer.
All right, you go back to bed and we'll call the police.
Don't talk to me as if I were crazy. I'm telling you the truth.
Orderly. Now come along, Mrs. Stewart. No one is going to hurt you. Everything is going to be all right.
Go.
Orderly!
Let me go. No. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
I wish you could have been there to see her yourself.
Yes, I heard about it this morning.
She had the usual delusions. She kept insisting that you were a murderer. You know how they get. She wanted me to call the police. For a moment, she became very violent. I had to give her a sedative. I think we ought to do something about her.
I agree with you, Doctor. I'll be in to see her in a few minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There, you see? Everything worked out just as we planned.
Yes.
Well, smile, darling. It's fallen right in our lap. You don't seem particularly pleased.
I am. Of course I am, Elaine.
Well, what are you going to do?
I'm going to try to find something that will convince her that she's insane. You'd better get back to her now, darling. I'll be over in a few minutes.
Right.
You feeling any better today?
I'm all right. There's nothing the matter with me.
Miss Jordan tells me that you're still talking about some woman I'm supposed to have killed. I've asked you to stop thinking about such things, Mrs. Stewart.
But it was your own wife.
If I can prove to you that you couldn't have seen me kill my wife, would you believe that this is a delusion you've been suffering from?
You were arguing with her about a divorce.
If you will look at the date on this newspaper, Mrs. Stewart, you will see that my wife died only a week ago. You have been a patient here for over 3 weeks now.
3 weeks?
That's right. So you see, this has all been a very vivid dream. You must fight these dreams, Mrs. Stewart, or they're going to become worse, and we don't want that to happen.
My mind is all right.
It's not all right, Mrs. Stewart. Your mind is sick, and it's getting worse.
My mind is all right.
You wouldn't want your husband to see you in that condition, would you? He doesn't even want to see you when you're like this. You're losing your mind, Mrs. Stewart.
No, no.
Losing your mind.
A report on witches. There are many kinds of witches. There are good witches, bad witches, dark witches, white witches, and desert witches. Those are the best kinds. They're called sand witches. Witchcraft was fairly common in the Middle Ages. People who didn't like it asked the witches to stop being witches, but the witches said, no way, get lost. We like being witches. Then the people told the witches to knock it off. The witches laughed at the people and kept on being witches. This made the people mad. So they started burning the witches at the stake. Between the 15th and 18th century, over 50,000 witches were burned at the stake in Europe. But it didn't work, and there are still witches today, because that's what my mommy calls my grandma. The end.
Oh, very good, Renfield.
But there's more. This is for the show part of the show and tell. So for the show part, I actually conjure a fireball like this. Ouch! Ouch! Well, I didn't think that through well enough. I didn't think you'd burn if you weren't a witch. Ouch! I'd better make sure I take some marshmallows with me for the kids. Back to you, Drac. Yeah. Ja, boven des Plissen und bieten dem Saxons, wolves, money years gone go, swasmus, drickenek, plassemus, wonen,
Really?
Boven munchen das Sees, oven njord was sees again, callen, Odin, no sees, rofen no more.
Ah.
De monster hebben der nog, weet je, landen, landen Tegenhag, landen on New York, Rendsburg, battlen was beginnen, mit Wort und New York, going, Motherfucking whippers,
Thank you, Miss Hatfield.
Dr. Cross,
Yes?
there's someone in your office to see you.
Did I have an appointment?
No, sir. He's from the District Attorney's Office of Monterey.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Dr. Cross?
Yes?
How are you? My name's O'Neill. I'm with the District Attorney's Office in Monterey County.
Oh, yes. What can I do for you?
It's in connection with your wife's death, Doctor.
I thought the case had been closed.
Something happened this week that made us consider the possibility that your wife didn't fall into that chasm by accident.
I don't understand.
A couple of days ago, someone broke into Harwood Lodge, beat Mrs. Harwood into unconsciousness, and made off with her valuables. We caught the thief day before yesterday.
But what has that to do with Mrs. Cross's death?
It may not have anything to do with it. It occurred to us that since the lodge was so close to your place, the man who clubbed Mrs. Harwood may have paid a visit to your wife. You've lived around Point Lobos for nearly 10 years. Mrs. Cross spent much of her time there. She must have known those cliffs pretty well, even at night.
Yes. I'd hate to think that
I'm not saying it was murder, Doctor. I'm just checking.
Of course. I'll do everything I can to help you.
I knew you'd feel that way about it. Have you checked your place to see if anything was missing?
I'm sure there isn't, or I'd have noticed it.
If it's all right with you, Doctor, we'd like to have Mrs. Cross's body exhumed.
But the coroner said...
It was only a routine examination.
Well, I don't know as that's necessary, Mr. O'Neill. You've got your man.
All we've got is a drunken old tramp who clubbed Mrs. Harwood and stole a little money and jewelry. We can't know about Mrs. Cross unless the body's exhumed.
But it seems almost sacrilegious. Hasn't she been through enough? Haven't I?
I had hoped you'd be more understanding, Doctor. Naturally, we'll get a court order, but it would be much simpler if you... If this tramp killed your wife, you want to see him punished, don't you?
Of course.
Then you can't conscientiously object to the exhumation.
No. No, Mr. O'Neill, I can't. If the man is guilty, he must be punished, of course.
Thank you, Doctor. You'll hear from me one way or the other within the next few days. Thank you for your cooperation.
Darling, I've been so worried I didn't know what had happened to you. Where have you been?
City.
When you weren't here for dinner, I began to worry. What did the man from the district attorney's office want?
They're going to exhume Margaret's body.
You're not going to let them.
I had nothing to say about it. They'd get a court order.
But why are they? I don't
think some prowler may have killed her.
Prowler?
They weren't looking for anything before. She slipped and fell and fractured her skull against the rocks. Now they may discover it wasn't the fall that killed her.
They can't prove anything.
No. Once they start asking questions, That's why I went to the city. I had to make sure that I hadn't overlooked anything in the apartment. Why didn't I report it in the first place? Why did I let you talk me into... If it weren't for that Stewart girl, if they start asking questions and find her...
Maybe they won't find her. We've taken care of everything else so far. If we have to, we'll take care of her, too. And you're not helping matters acting this way.
If a man wanted to, if he had courage, he could get rid of her and no one would ever know. The doctor has an advantage. I could give her insulin shock treatment. Shock treatment's indicated in a case like hers. I could give her 4 injections. Then with the last one, an overdose. No one would ever know the difference.
Then we'd be safe. No matter what the district attorney's office found, we'd be safe. They'd have nothing on us, Richard. We could get married then. You'd be yourself again, Richard. We'd find peace and quiet here, just the two of us.
You don't think I'd do it, do you?
Why not? Is her life more important than ours?
I've had enough. Look, Elaine, I can't go on like this. Things keep piling up. First it was Margaret, and then tricking that child so that she'd forget. Then convincing her that she was insane. There's a limit beyond which even I can't go.
Richard, remember the first night I came here? Remember? You were alone. You were sitting here in front of the fireplace with a sick headache. The lights were out. You didn't hear me when I knocked, and I opened the door and you said, "Oh, it's you, Miss Jordan." You called me Miss Jordan then, remember? I told you I had to see you about Mrs. Penny's prescription. You talked to me and you saw that I was tired and you asked me if I wouldn't have a drink. I hesitated and you said, "I won't bite your head off, Miss Jordan." And we had a drink. Remember? You sat here for a long time and then suddenly you laughed and you said your headache was gone. And you asked me about my family and I told you. And we both laughed. Remember? Then you took me in your arms. I know you remember that.
I won't do it, Elaine. I won't do it.
In our top story tonight, we go to our man in the field, Renfield. Where are you, Renfield?
I'm on assignment on a skyscraper's ledge, Master.
And just why are you there, Renfield?
Because you told me to be here, Master. You told me to climb a skyscraper. I didn't want to. Who in their right mind would?
Are you saying that you're in your right mind, Renfield?
Well, you got me there, Master. But why did you want me to do this?
Well, I wanted to see if a man could really scale the outside of a skyscraper. And since you consume so many flies, I thought you'd be a prime candidate to conduct this experiment and be a real living human fly.
But I've been eating a lot of rat lately, Master.
And it shows. So how high are you, Renfield?
I didn't take anything before doing this, Master. That would be dangerous.
Truth.
No, I meant how many floors high are you?
I'm not sure. I lost count after the 15th floor. I just want to hurry up and get down to the ground level again as soon as possible.
I don't blame you, Renfield.
Drac, you've got a caller on the line. He says you got disconnected.
All right, Bob. Put him on through. Hey, Renfield, stay right where you are.
I'm getting really dizzy, Master, and my foot is falling asleep. I really want to get down from here, Master.
Tell us what you've discovered about scaling a skyscraper.
Well, to begin with, I made a big mistake with the building I chose.
What mistake was that?
I chose a building that has a size 32 waist ledges, but I'm a size 42. And there's another thing I'd do differently if I had to do it all over again, Master.
What's that?
I'd go to the bathroom before I started.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea. Anything else?
Well, I wouldn't have drank all that coffee either, but I suppose it goes along with the part about going to the bathroom before starting. You know, I really am getting dizzy up here, Master.
Just a few more questions, Renfield. You'll be fine. Just don't look down.
Don't what?
Look down.
Okay.
Oops.
Just a minute, I'm coming.
Hello, Doctor.
Come in.
I hope you hadn't gone to bed.
No.
They told me at the hospital I'd find you here.
I didn't expect to see you so soon, Mr. O'Neill. I thought you'd phone me if there were any developments.
I had to serve the papers.
Oh, yes?
Coroner's inquest subpoena. Now it's legal.
What did the coroner find?
Your wife was murdered, Doctor.
Oh? Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Sit down, Mr. O'Neill.
She was beaten over the head, suffered an explosive fracture. Death was practically instantaneous.
This prowler you told me about, you think he did it?
It seems so. He clubbed Mrs. Harwood. Your wife went out the same way. A pattern. Killers usually follow a pattern.
You don't know how she was killed? I mean, the weapon?
She was struck with a candlestick.
A candlestick? Are you sure?
A heavy silver one.
How can you know?
Microscope. There were particles of silver in the wound. They told us it was a silver object. There were bits of wax mixed in with the silver. They told us it was a candlestick. It must have been a heavy candlestick to have done the damage. Just routine, Doctor.
A criminal doesn't have much of a chance these days, does he?
No, sir. By the way, do you have any silver candlesticks at the lodge?
We might have.
I'd like your permission to go through the house. The murderer may have left the candlestick behind, in which case we'll get fingerprints. If you got rid of the weapon, we may be able to find the mate. Then we'll know what to look for.
Of course, go right ahead.
Thanks. Now, if we can find the candlestick, our troubles are over. By the way, when did you see Mrs. Cross last? Alive, I mean.
Oh, a couple of weeks before she was killed. Why?
Can you place it a little more definitely?
I think so. Things had been piling up around here, and I needed a change. So I drove down to Point Lobos on a Friday night.
Anyone see you?
I don't think so. Why?
We're trying to fix the exact time of her death.
Well, I'm not sure anyone saw me. I drove down there on Friday night, left there around 9:30 Saturday night.
Well, it's not too important.
Naturally, I want to do everything I can to help you, Mr. O'Neill. If I think of anything, I'll get in touch with you.
Thanks. Sorry to bother you so late.
That's all right.
See you at the inquest. Good night, Doctor.
Good night.
Sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, keep only unto her, so long as ye both shall live.
I will.
What's the matter, Richard? You haven't been yourself lately. Something on your mind? Darling, what's happening with us? Richard, I must speak to you. People are talking about you and that nurse, Miss Jordan. How do you like my hair, Richard? Of course, I've had it dyed. Everyone says it makes me look years younger.
I could give her 4 injections. Then with the last one, an overdose.
Then we'd be safe. No matter what the district attorney's office found, we'd be safe.
Get me Lieutenant Stewart, please.
Well, it's been a rough 2 years, Drac. I've chased a leprechaun across Ireland to get his pot of gold. Went to Robinson Crusoe's island. Went to Antarctica to talk to aliens, and on and on. I was exhausted and needed a rest, and that was even before last night.
Why? What did you do last night?
I filled in for Santa and delivered presents for him all over the world.
Why did you have to fill in for Santa?
Because he was incarcerated.
Santa was in jail?
No, he's actually here at the Seward Sanitarium.
Why is Santa in the sanitarium?
I can answer that. Hello, Drac. Hello, Carita. I've been held here at the sanitarium for the criminally insane for a year.
Why, Santa?
Well, Carita, it goes back to the Crosshairs programs I did with you and the Grinch last year, where I did this. Like that. And just like that, the war on Christmas is over. Who knew that decapitating an enemy of the people like the Grinch could get you locked up for life? Know what I mean?
That's horrible. I'm sorry, Santa.
Santa personally requested that I fill in for him last night.
You know, now that you mention it, the resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah, that Santa is a handsome fella.
But wow, traveling around the world delivering all of Santa's presents must have been a huge task, Renfield.
Not really, because the reindeer are really, really fast. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I actually fell out of the sleigh when we were taking off from the Netherlands and got this boo-boo on my head.
He's lucky he fell on his head.
Drac,
Well,
didn't that slow you down, Renfield?
Not at all, because my sleigh operates using quantum physics.
What's that?
Well, the sleigh can move faster than the speed of thought through the use of wave-particle duality.
huh?
It creates an effect known as quantum tunneling, Drac. You have to excuse Drac. He's so 15th century.
I can hear you, you know.
Oh, well, anyway, I have one more Christmas wish to take care of, and that's right here at the sanitarium.
And what is that, Renfield?
I'm busting Santa out of the loony bin.
Am I all set?
Just tiptoe down the hallway there, and at the end of the hall, take a left. I left the back door open for you, and your sleigh and reindeer are parked right outside.
Thank you, Renfield. I'll be sure to remember this next Christmas. Bye, Carita. Bye, Drac.
Bye, Santa!
And that's my report for tonight, Master. Now, if you excuse me, it's time for my daily shave-in enema. There's no place like home. Merry Christmas.
The treatment itself consists of a series of shocks brought on by injections of insulin. The dosage and the degree of shock is gradually increased until we've reached what we feel is the limit the patient's system can stand.
Well, if you do give Janet this insulin, how certain can you be that it'll help her?
I'm neither a miracle man nor a prophet, Lieutenant. If medicine were an exact science and not an art, I might be able to tell you.
But you think there's a chance?
Yes, I do.
I have seen it work in the Army. All right, Doctor, go ahead and try it.
Fine. We'll begin the treatment tomorrow morning. We'll give her about an hour and a half. Now watch her. Dextrose will bring her out now.
No, please. No.
Yes, he's in. Do you have an appointment?
I'll be glad to consult with you, Doctor.
I'm sorry to break in this way.
But my secretary will make the appointment.
I had to see you, Doctor. It's about my wife. She's been getting insulin shock treatments.
Now, just a moment, young man. Oh, it's Lieutenant Stewart. Well, we've had some wonderful results with insulin.
But after 3 treatments, she still insists she saw Dr. Cross murder his wife with a candlestick.
Murder his wife?
Yes, and she says he's trying to kill her now.
Well, that's a very common delusion.
Mrs. Cross is dead, and Dr. Cross did live in our hotel.
You and the Crosses were in the same hotel?
The Belmont Arms.
I see. And when was it she said that? Yesterday?
Yes, after the treatment.
You realize it's hard to make generalizations. But as a rule, the patient is completely normal immediately after insulin shock. They may relapse into their hallucination after this lucid period. But for that moment, no matter how bad the case, the patient speaks the truth.
You're telling me in your own way that Janet's normal. That she's got something on Cross, and he's pretending she's crazy to save his own neck.
I'm not saying quite that, but,
Will you read this, Doctor?
Get Dr. Cross at his sanatorium, please. It seems inconceivable. Hello, Dr. Cross.
I'm sorry, Dr. Harvey. Dr. Cross is with Mrs. Stewart. No, sir, this is Dr. Stevens' day off.
I see. Thank you. Well, Lieutenant, I think a trip is in order.
Thank you for joining us, Casper.
Thank you for having me.
So everybody expected you to make a remarkable comeback after the release of your movie in 1995. But, disappointingly, there were only 2 failed TV shows and then a few sporadic cartoons here and there. What are your plans for the future?
Well, I suppose you could say I'm retired. I've just been hanging out with Spooky, the tough little ghost, and Hot Stuff, the little devil. But I'm always looking for another house to haunt.
I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you look much smaller on film than you do here tonight. Have you been putting on some weight?
Well, I try to watch my diet, Master.
What?
Yes, I'm sticking to a strict diet of rats and flies, Master.
Master?
Oops.
Renfield, doggone it. You told me you'd gotten Casper to do an interview with me. Now take that silly sheet off and tell me what happened.
Sorry, Master. Casper said that he would do the interview, but right before we went on the air, Wendy, the good little witch, called and told him that she was lonely, and he disappeared.
Just like that?
Just like that. He left so fast that I got the impression that Wendy is anything but a good little witch.
Well, we'll just leave it at that.
She's the only one who knows Richard. No matter what O'Neill says or anyone else, if she's out of the way, we've nothing to worry about. They can hint and guess all they want, but without her, they have nothing.
dexterous. I've got to bring her out of it.
No. No, you can't. Dick, you can't.
Dexterous, Elaine. I've got to save her. I've got
You
to.
can't. I won't let you. We've got to go through with this.
Don't you understand? I can't go through with it.
It's her life or ours. No one will ever know.
Elaine.
Richard, listen to me.
Let go of her.
Richard, I love you.
Let go.
Oh, Richard! Richard!
Dr. Cross, where is he?
Mrs. Stewart.
Come along, I may need you. Adrenaline, quickly. Don't worry, son. She'll come out of it in a couple of hours, and you'll be able to take her home in 2 or 3 days.
I'm very grateful to you, Doctor. Oh, Janet, darling. September 13th. In the case of Janet Stewart. I gave her insulin shock again today, for the 4th time. Can you give me a minute? Thank you. Dr. Harvey completed the treatment successfully, and the case is closed.
Well, that's our tale for tonight, teaching us once again that crime does not pay. Unless, of course, you're a doctor. What was Dr. Cross thinking? He had a private practice, was on staff at a hospital, and ran his own sanitarium. He had to have been making money hand over fist. So when he realized he was going to be caught, why did he plot to kill the witness? And why did he kill Nurse Elaine? He could have cashed out on all of his assets and skipped town with this hussy nurse to a country he couldn't be extradited from. That's what I would have done. That's what you would have done? Who said that? I did. Oh, it's you. Where have you been? I've been right here all along. Well, that makes sense. I've had this nagging feeling that I was being watched. You have been, and I saw what you did. Gee, you really shouldn't have said that. Why not? Didn't you see the beginning of the show? keep your mouth shut. I hope you enjoyed our program this evening. Why should I have kept my mouth shut?
Well, we hope you enjoyed our tribute to Mr. Renfield.
You know, Renfield and Dr. Seward are the undisputed MVPs of Transylvania Tonight.
They are, and we're so happy to have them here with us.
So if you're out and about and you happen to see Renfield, be sure to say hello and to thank him for all the hard work he does on this program. Oh, but don't get too close, because sometimes he bites, and I'm really not sure if he's up to date on his shots.
Well, that's our show for tonight.
We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, fly right. Oh, you know, watching all this stuff tonight, it just reminded me, that Renfield, what a moron, you know, what an idiot.
What a coincidence you would say that, Deadest.
Oh, you were thinking the same thing?
No, but that's what people always say about you.
They do?
Yes.
Who?
Everybody.
Oh. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody?
Pretty much.
You mean everybody I know? Groucho?
Oh, yeah.
Drac.
Transylvania Tonight is a Fly Right production.